Welcome back to the Stephen Knight Show. If you're just tuning in, don't forget we're now on video, so you can go to our YouTube channel, The Stephen Knight Show. Or if you rather listen to us, go to our website, thestephenknightshow.com, or Anchor, Apple Podcasts. But we're all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, of course, our official website, thestephenknightshow.com. So check us out. Ms. Parker, happy Monday. How you feeling?
Happy Monday. I'm great. How are you?
I can't complain. How was your weekend?
It was good. I think I have to tell myself I'm great. I had a really busy day and still have to do some work. So exhausting, but it's almost over. The weekend was good. It was short. Can't remember what I did. Oh, I had some friends over on last night. My friend Finan is back in town. She's been helping with the surge of coronavirus in Texas. So she's been gone for about 6 weeks. She returned yesterday and came over with her sister. So that was good to have some friends fellowship with. And then on Friday, I actually had another friend come by and we tested out my new gas grill, which is awesome. I made some fish for her and a lamb for me. And then on Saturday, we all did a Zoom call for Esther, who I highlighted and shout out. I gave a shout out to doing my mental health Monday segment, because it's just important to have supportive and good friends around you, especially during these times when there's so much going on and people are going through so much. So I wanted to use her as an example of how having supportive people around you in your life can really help your mental health. So it was her birthday. We did a Zoom call and it was awesome to see all of our friends and really show Esther some love and support. And we cried and laughed and had an amazing 2 hours to kind of catch up. So that was great.
Yeah, it was good. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. What about you, Chike? How's your weekend?
Weekend was a blessing. I had a small fire scare in my apartment, and they thought that I was going to be homeless for a minute. It actually wasn't a fire in my unit, but my neighbor had a fire. We were out of power for about 3 days due to the tropical storm. And something about when the power came back on, there was some type of surge in her air conditioner unit caught fire. And just so happens that it happened right before I was about to leave out for work on Friday morning, but I caught it and called the fire company, and they came out and saved the day. So awesome. I was out for maybe 12 hours, and then they told me I could come back. So I was thankful. Yeah. But that was my weekend. I thought I was going to be out for a minute.
Wow. I'm glad everything, it wasn't worse.
Yeah, definitely glad everything is okay with your neighbor and and you as well. Not just material things, but you guys' health and life. So
yes, thank you.
What about you, Nair? How was your weekend?
Good weekend. Very good weekend. Simple. I didn't have any big plans. I did get a COVID test. So I'm waiting on those results, planning on doing some international travel here very soon. So hopefully things are okay. But I took a test. That was pretty uncomfortable. That test is really uncomfortable. But I'm happy I got that. I'm curious to see, I hope I know that it's going to be fine, but I'm curious to see what my results say. Yeah.
Well, definitely praying that everything goes well with that. I got some bad news today. One of my friends who I met back in college, he was found dead in his apartment last night. So I want to shout out to him. His name is David. I want to shout out to him and his friends and family who are all mourning his loss. It was a shock. But overall, my weekend was cool. I did a lot of stuff at the house, had the Zoom birthday party, and hung out with a few friends here and there. So it was cool. Yeah. Our question of the day is, should couples' finances be separate or together? Ms. Parker.
I think that's an individual decision. I think a lot of things that is couple and relationship related should be done on an individual basis. I hate the overall generalizing of how couples should be and what love look like and what a relationship is. I get a little bit annoyed with those type of questions because I think that relationships in themselves are so individualized, and whatever two people decide their relationship is what it is. And so I think different things work for different people. I think transparency and what you have and don't have and what you make and don't make is important, but that's important in a relationship, period. But I think however that couple decides that it works best for them it's what should happen.
Chica?
I agree with Ms. Parker. It is what you make it. However, in my own experience, it's been both. There's money for us, and then there's money for us individually.
Mm-hmm. Now, yeah.
I agree.
You're about to get married.
Yeah, and we've had this conversation. I've had this conversation with my mom about her and my father, their model, and it's come down, and she's done the same with her family. It's come down to we're gonna try different things and see what really fits us. Meaning me and Sum. We're the two, we're the primary individuals that will be affected. So in our families, but we'll definitely consult with each other along the way and just kind of try different things. We're gonna try it together. We're gonna try separate. We're gonna try different things. My mom actually said her and my father did the same thing when I was younger. They, up until now, they started together, and then my mom said, so then it went separate, and then they tried it again together. And she said ultimately they found that it worked best for them to be separate, and they've been separate as far as she remembers.
Yeah, I think like Ms. Parker and everyone else said that, every relationship is different, whatever you all feel comfortable with. But for me personally, I would prefer separate. But I think I do agree being transparent and, making sure everything's taken care of.
What's your biggest driver for preferring it separate? I'm just curious.
Because if something don't work, my money's mine and yours is yours.
Got you. Yeah.
Is
that the same for you, Ms. Parker?
No, in a marriage, that wouldn't work, because in a marriage, whatever is yours is going to be the other person's.
Depending on how that paperwork is done.
Yeah, if you get some paperwork drawn, that's cool. But most people of our pay grade don't do that. But in relationships, I don't think that it really matters. I guess I think most of the relationships already are separate. And most of those conversations take place when it's a married thing. I don't know. I haven't given it much thought. I have no clue what I would prefer.
Yeah.
And to be very, very, very honest in a very real way, that's the major contributor to the ending of a lot of relationships is financial. It has nothing to do with any other thing. But money.
That's true. Well, tweets at home.
What we should go with this conversation, I'm sorry, is who pays the bills? Because I think that does matter whether or not it's together or separate.
That is a very interesting. I
think it goes together.
Well, one of my friends who's married, he said that it depends on if we're paying 50-50 split on bills. But there are a lot of people that I saw. This one woman I played basketball for her son years ago. She said separate, and she's been married a long time too. So I think it just depends on the couple. You know what I mean? Well, tweet us at home at Steve the Night Show, SHO, and let us know what are your thoughts. All right, so as we know, Kanye is running for president, although he probably won't make it to November. But he has someone who's supporting him, and it's Nick Cannon. He said he was asked at the airport if he planned on voting for Ye, and he said yes. He said because we need another black man in the White House. Excuse me. Once paparazzi pointed out the multiple hurdles that Kanye's campaign is currently facing, specifically various missed deadlines and potentially stealing votes away from presidential hopeful Joe Biden, Nick had an interesting response. He stated that we need another black man in the White House. And he said, and the cameraman said, well, there's no way he can win. And Nick said, stranger things have happened in 2020. Elsewhere, Nick was also asked about the cancel culture in reference to his very public falling out and termination of his relationship with Viacom CBS last month. He said that there shouldn't be a cancel culture, it should be a counsel culture instead. As you all know, Viacom CBS officially terminated its relationship with Nick Cannon following his controversial comments about white people and the Jewish community. They're also the company that's responsible for his highly successful show, Wild Now. Ms. Parker, what are your thoughts on Nick supporting Kanye?
I'm just so over all of this, but I think that he's going through a lot right now, and I think it's two mentally ill people that we keep discussing when they both need to get help. I like Nick. I think that he's done a lot for our culture. I think he understands the the needs of our community. And I think he's been a huge part of getting a lot of messages that are important to mainstream America about our community. But I think that his mindset right now, he's going through a lot. He was just on suicide watch 2 weeks ago. I don't understand the media constantly asking people for their opinion when they know they're not well. I just don't get. But I know also what it is it makes good TV, because I went to journalism school, and that was my degree was in, and I know that we were that was drilled down into our heads, that you get the sound bite and you get them to talk about the craziest things, and you get them to make no sense so you can sell ads, and so I know it's all part of the game with the media. I know that is a part of it as well, but I wouldn't take anything that he's saying right now really to heart, because that's somebody who was literally just struggling with their mental health last week. And then now you're asking him a question about something as important as the presidency. So I'll go ahead and dismiss that.
Mm-hmm. Chige.
I'm gonna contribute this to Nick still reeling from his own stuff. I don't necessarily know that there needs to be another person of color in office. It would be nice, but I would want the best person for the job in the office. Yeah, I just don't think that Mr. West is a fit candidate to be in office. But just my opinion. I get why Nick said what he said, but it doesn't fit here.
I don't get it. But go ahead, Nadia.
What do I think about Nick Cannon's response?
Him explaining his support to Kanye for president, because what a lot of people are concerned about is that by Kanye being on the ticket, it will take away votes, black voters, a lot of black voters from Joe Biden. But most research that I saw that said that it wouldn't impact that much the vote, because he's not eligible in most states, but it could impact. What are your thoughts on him just being in that, Nick lending his support?
My thoughts on Nick lending his support to Kanye West. I have no thoughts on that. I'm not deeply concerned about that. I do agree with what Chike said. He understands where Nick comes from in that support, I guess, in the vein of that support. But ultimately, we're going to want the best leader there in that position. And yeah, it would be great to have another Black man there. However, I think it's going to be the best Black man that we can get in there would probably be more helpful. But I definitely understand. I don't have any deep thoughts on Nick's support. It is what it is.
Yeah. I forgot how many signatures. I think it was like 15,000 or 1,500 signatures, including P. Diddy. They wrote a letter to Joe Biden's campaign saying that his pick, because he already said he's picking a woman, it needs to be a Black woman or he'll lose the campaign. So
for Biden.
Joe Biden, yeah. All right, so almost forgot coronavirus update. We've surpassed 19 million cases worldwide with over 732,000 deaths. Here domestically, we've surpassed 5 million with 163,000 deaths. Now, over 1,000 kids have tested positive for COVID-19 domestically in the last 2 weeks of July. This is as schools are starting to open up. Schools here in Georgia have opened, and they had to close because over 484 teachers and students either tested positive after the first week or were exposed to someone who had tested positive. Now, there was one school after the first day, 9 people total between students and teachers tested positive. College football could be canceled this season. They're still trying to figure it out. A lot of players are saying they don't want to play because there's no direct guidelines. Like the NBA, they did a wonderful job bringing their season back with their bubble, and they haven't had any cases. But baseball, college football, they're struggling. Now, Trump says there'll be a vaccine out by Election Day. But most scientists say that's unlikely because of what it takes to create a vaccine. You have to find 60,000 people who want to take the vaccine. Then they have to catch COVID-19. And then after they catch it, you have to test them again. And so they say it's a long process. So you can't guarantee it by November. But I know we talk about this every week. What are your thoughts? Because, you know, we're still seeing a lot of clubs and a lot of pool parties and beaches. People out there having to living it up. What are your thoughts, Parker?
No, I still stand, where I always stood. I think people are making the best decisions that they know how, because we actually have no clue what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I can't take the numbers 100% correct from a government who's giving me information that doesn't make sense. So none of that to me adds up. So I just think everyone just needs to continue doing what's best for them and their families. And then, it is your decision, your responsibility, your life, your family's life, and you decide, you make that decision on how best to go about with this, because it just doesn't make sense to, you're gonna say this is a deadly disease, but send the kids back to school. But yet you're giving us numbers that doesn't even make sense with kids that are tested, and you already have their results back, but it normally takes 14 days. Like, it just doesn't, nothing about COVID makes sense to me from the government, from the news stations, nothing. So, I know people who are in the profession, and I align a lot of my beliefs with what they're seeing and what they're doing and what they're talking about. So I think just individually, just be as healthy as you can.
Yeah. Well, and the students that are testing, they've already had COVID prior to coming to school. And masks in most schools are not mandated. They say it's up to the student. Chike, you work in the medical field. What are your thoughts?
So it's almost like raising a child. We are the children, and if you have the leader, which would be the parent, not conforming to anything concrete, we have no leadership. There's nothing being put down of solid value for us to follow. How could we possibly do right? And it reflects in the nation. I mean, we're all over the place with it. This is why we can't get a hold of it, because there's nothing, concretely given to us to follow. And that randomness throughout the country with different states, it's going to be that way. So if they shut down one particular state, or they put particular rules in place for one state, and if it happens to be in close proximity to another, they're just going to slide on over to the next state to do what they want to do. And it was an ugly cocktail of situations where we were quarantined for so long and people were starving to get out, and then you could, and so they did. And then we have what we have. We need concrete rules. We need rules. We need things set in place in order for us to deal with anything. And this is just in the medical community. In order for us to do anything and do it successful, there's rules in place. There's certain protocols that we need to follow for things to follow through in a proficient manner. That's just how medical is. That's how we work. That's how we're successful. And that is not shown throughout the country.
Yeah. And now New York has done an amazing job with handling. They have, I think, less than 1% of cases now. And they have at their bridges, if you come into the state, they're waiting for you to see where you're coming from, and you have to quarantine 14 days. What are your thoughts on all this going on with the COVID-19, where we are today? Because now we're in August, and, it all started in February for us, for most people.
Again, I'm right there with Ms. Parker. I'm right there with Chike, merging all these perspectives. I can't add anything new to this mess of a conversation. Numbers are misinforming. People are doing it's like preaching to the choir on both sides, whether you do or you don't. People are going to do what they're going to do. The people who want to put their children in these schools and not have masks, it wasn't so much the concern that the students were put in school, and like you said, there were students who had it going to the school. Well, that's someone else's child that didn't have it, that was exposed to that child. Or, so people are going to do what they're going to do. It's preaching to the choir. You either going to use your common sense or find some sense that's common. Do what you think is going to keep you and your circle safe, or you're going to not do those things. Either way, I think people have their minds made up at this point, and they'll continue to do that. I have nothing new to add to this conversation.
I agree. Well, listen, we'll take a quick break, come back with a couple more hot topics right back after this.